And
it was weird. When you said it was spinning, I could hear something like choo, 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 choo.
all right, so everybody, just so you know what's going on with the least professional podcast you'll ever see, we're still keeping that trend going, and I'm trying to. Oh, there we go. Finally, that's a huge delay. We're now going to be going live on Instagram too. That's what the delay was, and why I was staring off screen like I was watching TV or something. So, you know what? We never. Pat, you suggested that we bring the guests up after we talk a little bit, and every time I just have them on the screen, and then they're like sitting there, like, what do we do? Kind of, and we've done it to everybody. So,
I tried. I gave the suggestion. Better. I put it out there.
Yeah, we'll get better someday. So, welcome to Jeff and Susie Eastman. Even if you don't recognize them, you know them because you can't go anywhere without seeing their equipment. They are the makers of the tripwire, which I've heard people call it many different things. I get people calling your store saying it's that EMF wire or the cable, whatever. So I know what they're talking about. So, or the thing with all the purple lights that looks like Christmas tree lights or something. I'm like, yeah, I got you. You can't go on any video on YouTube or almost any live on TikTok and not see that string of lights. They're usually purple when they're not detecting anything, so you'll see that first. Yeah. And then the power light lanterns, you've seen them all before too. Yeah, and the power REM, the new power REM, you'll be seeing that even more, and you'll know that's different because you're going to hear it playing music. And then the electric dowsing rods, which I bring them out on my investigations when I do. I just had one at Whitehill, and people run away with them. I have to keep track of where they are to make sure they're not taking them home. Because once it's dark and you turn them on, and then the new ones where you can detect the EMF at the end, the people go crazy. So just like that's how I met you guys. You had that big box at the Gettysburg Bash. They get stuff like your heads in. As soon as you turned it on, I was in there holding them. I'm like, oh wow, there's nothing like this.
Susie had a little sign that says, "Try me in the dark."
They kind of took that how they wanted to take it,
You had to like that. Your hands in this big pitch black box. It's just because we wanted to cut the light out. Right. And now you could really see them glow.
Yeah. That was one of the first things Jeff invented. And that came about because we would volunteer down at the Canton Palace Theater, and everybody likes to try dowsing rods because they're very personal. And it's a good personal experience that you can do. And we'd sit in a big group of like 10, and the lights would be out and nobody could see what they were doing.
Yeah.
And that was frustrating to everybody. It's like, are you getting a yes? Are you getting a no? Are they pointing somewhere?
Yeah. And then the flashlights come out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Jeff added glow in the dark paint. And so then we were trying to get them to glow, but that would last about 5 minutes, and then they would dim.
I'd say, wait a minute, my flashlight to charge you up.
So a lot of the equipment that he's invented is just taking one thing but trying to improve on it and make it better and make it more user friendly. And Jeff's an engineer, and he's so incredibly innovative. He can fix anything. Yeah, I'm going to give him a compliment right now.
Let me hold it together.
He can fix about anything around the house, and he's always coming up with really creative ideas. And so that's where the first kind of glow in the dark, I don't know what you want to call them, your first dowsing rods.
I was looking for a way to create a dowsing rod that lit up, and I happened to be watching a YouTube video with these guys. I think they were called Anti-Gravity Group. And they were all strung up with electric light wire on stage. Just looked like skeletons. And I thought, that is so cool. How do they do it? So I researched it, found out it's just electric light wire at the little tiny power supply, and found, hey, I can put this on top of my dowsing rod. But at the time, you could only get one color.
Yeah.
So I had so many colors and so many lengths of rods. And that's where we met you, at the Battlefield Bash.
Gettysburg Battlefield Bash.
That place.
Is that right?
Yes.
That was our first kind of paranormal convention we ever went to. We only were selling one product. And it's what we were using out in the field, and we thought others would like it. And Dave came by and said, hey, I'll sell those for you. So we owe our start to him.
Yeah,
that's
we really do. Good. And life hasn't been the same ever since.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
hopefully all good.
I have to tell you, I know I didn't tell you this before because I don't usually look at the numbers, but I started getting reports, like sales reports and stuff, sent to me from the store now. So now I'm looking at everything, and I went back because I saw over the past three months your stuff was like the top selling.
Wow.
So then I went back last 12 months, and then I went back into the prior year, and the tripwire has been the number one selling thing for 2 years.
That's amazing.
That's like, there's nothing ever that in 25 years, there's nothing ever that lasted that long being at number one. That's crazy.
Well,
that
shows
the popularity.
It's a good item. Like
how innovative it is.
Right.
We came up with that idea because people would put minefields out of just separate EMF
like
ghost meters.
Ghost meters, the little orange top ghost meter.
And we in our yeah, do you remember those, the orange ones? And Sparky would carry this suitcase, and then he'd unload them all and put them in a hallway, and then he'd sit there all night because they were too hard to move from one place to another and set up again.
Right.
And so we thought, what could we come up with that would be more mobile? You know, you can spread it out. You can put it over a door. You can put it on a mantle. You can put it on a bed.
But I need to give some credit to Dennis Estock, I think, Cabin on the 360 person. We were talking about things like the Paralight at the time, and he and I got into exchanging ideas. And we started talking about this minefield, and he threw out the word cable and may have said like Christmas lights, and all that took was the spark. And I thought, wait a minute. And at that point, I ran with it and had several different prototypes, learned my lessons on a lot of them, and eventually came out with what you have now. And it's been a couple of versions. And I know every one of those sensors. I screw every one of them in. So.
And I iron every pouch. So you should see your movement. Yeah, that's what I do.
And literature.
And taking apart the lanterns, and then he puts them together again. So we're a team.
We're a tag team.
We are a tag team. And our basement is that's where our magic happens.
Yes, that's our little
workshop, right?
Our workshop.
Yeah.
But
so
now,
the kids have moved out, we're
oh,
that's Dave putting up a picture.
I see.
hit the table thinking that I created that. So yeah, we're at a moment in our lives that we can run off and do this kind of stuff and not worry about running to soccer games or gymnastics and kid events.
Right.
So.
But with the tripwire, he put the spacing so it could go up and down stairs easily as well.
For the Trip 12.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry. I saw somebody who said they put them over a fireplace. So it was like a perfect fit. They got the 36.
We did that before at a big one of those big.
It fits perfectly.
The big marble stair or fireplaces in the historic homes. That's the perfect size to go right over that.
Right.
And the 36-footer could have been 75. We were talking.
That was Waverly Hills.
Waverly Hills, Pac-Man Paranormal, talking with them, and again generating ideas. And he said, "Hey, we've got these hallways at Waverly Hills that are really long. I'd like one 75 feet long." And I said, well, let's start a little bit shorter than that. How about 36?
Yeah.
Every 3 feet.
Definitely.
It was hard to power that length too. So you had
that's what I would think. Like I wouldn't know how you would get the power to go that far. You'd have to have probably another one in the middle or something.
Oh, it works out. So, and then recently, Dave, I think you have a tripwire with sound, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to put that promo video together, information to get to you, to get it up online. But I think that's going to be a real good addition because now you'll have the ability to not have to be babysitting the tripwire when it goes off. You could have your back.
Oh, look at that. That's a good bit.
That's strange. Just 818.
That is Bolton Mansion. I've, the amount of clips I have of the tripwire going off is just. Now I lost all you guys. What's going on?
It's all right.
There we go.
I can still hear
It's my
you.
fault. You guys were still there. You guys just
Yeah.
weren't being up on the screen there. All right. I'm just pressing buttons over here. You don't have to pay attention to that.
A quick story about the trip with sound. Heather from Travel the Dead was using the trip wire at the haunted farmhouse. And it was in the background, and the cameraman was filming her, and she was talking, and the camera guy had to tell her, hey, the tripwire is going off. It's behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, I thought, I got to do something. So
it's one thing, if you have it around you in a room and you visually can see it, but it's another thing if it's behind you or it might be out in a hallway, then the sound really helps. So now we're making the Trip 12 Plus and the Trip 36 Plus, and you have the choice to sound off or on, depending on how you want to use it, if you're doing EVPs or whatever.
I remember asking you guys if you would do something like that, like a long time ago, and I didn't realize how much it would matter. But I had that. We were in a Moravian church, an old historic Moravian church, which is basically it's one large meeting room, kind of like a friend's meeting room, and we had tripwires across all the different walls. And I was sitting up against a door, a big double door, and I had it around the frame, but my back's to it. I can't see it. And with all the other lights on and everything, it wasn't, if it was flashing, it wasn't like overpowering the other lights that were on. So that's where I had the sound one, and I didn't even realize it. And all of a sudden I'm hearing this beeping going, like, what the, anyone else hear that beeping? What is that? And they're like, the tripwire's going off behind you. I'm like, okay, that's it. That right there. That's the time. That's the perfect example. If I was by myself in there, or someone else wasn't looking in that direction of me, I would have never known that went off. And that's, now you don't always have to be, within eyesight of it.
Right. And then Jeff also, he put a delay on it. You want to tell them about that?
Oh, it has a little bit longer of a delay. So when the lights turn, when they peg to red.
What?
Are you there? Hang on.
Yeah, we're still here.
We can hear
We're
you.
here.
We just had something pop up on our screen.
Good. I don't know. It was Capital One.
Yeah, that was an advertisement. Okay. When the lights peg to red and they come back down, it takes about 4 seconds to come from red back down to pink. Whereas the first original tripwire, about 2 seconds. And what that does is it gives you that little bit of delay to turn and look and see where the concentration of the hit was. Also, when you bring it back, I really encourage people to use full spectrum cameras when they're watching this, or just a normal camera. IR cameras turn everything green, and you can't see intensity differences between pink and blue and stuff like that. So we slowed it down to give you the ability to play it back slow, and you'll see where on the tripwire it got the biggest hit. So
that's
I angered a lot of my members because on our investigation logs, the colors equal a certain EMF reading.
Right.
Well, we log in the EMF readings when we're doing that. So when the tripwire goes off and you got like multiple lights and how far down, because they're spaced out, so you're getting distance and everything. They were having to write what color light and which number pod was it. So it's like they would have, the reports would be nothing but like, it was the blue pod, or it lit up blue, it was the 6th pod, all that stuff. And I had to make it simpler for them because that was going a little crazy with it. Because I tried to do it myself on a report at one of the houses where the tripwire was really going insane. It's like, oh my God, I can't type all this either. So it's got to be like a simpler way to do it. But it's I got members that bought it. The team has them now. So it's like we don't go anywhere without it, at least one tripwire. And when me and Maggie and Michael are there, I think we got 6 or 7 of them. So we can do the whole thing down the hallway like we did at like Hillview.
Yep.
We
lit up like a landing strip.
We did that at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Yeah,
and so we have a lot ourselves, obviously.
Yeah.
And then all of our teammates all have them. So you talk about a landing strip, and then
Yeah.
you
Right.
see that thing light up from one end to the other. It is so cool.
So I'm usually a step ahead of what you have. My Trip 36s are really 3624s. I double stuff them with sensors. So
That's
when
awesome.
people look at them, they go, how many sensors do you have? It looks like a lot of Trip 12s laying on the floor, but actually it's just my Trip 36 that's double stuffed. And what I like to do, since I carry so many, when we get into a room or a location, we put a chair down and circle it and circle it. I'll get about 5 rows on this circumference, put the chair in the middle, have somebody do the Estes method or Dow's or something like that. And when you get a hit, they have been very interesting looking, and that it sort of looks like a bow tie. It's wide on the ends, and it can go at different. When you get the hit, it's usually the same angle until somebody else takes the chair, but it's the shape of a bow tie. And there, is that Hillview Manor?
That's Hillview Manor.
Yeah, we recognize it.
I don't know how many strings we had there. I know there's some 36 there, but we went beyond that. I can see the black box in the middle one, the battery pack. So that's going to be another set going down there. But that was just amazing.
You know, like you said, how popular they are. And Jeff and I have realized just, it seems like something standard that everybody has. You know, like it used to be what your K2 meter or something that just everybody had. Right. You know, shows. It's just amazing how the shows are using them. And where all have they been?
In fact, tomorrow night, Expedition X has a new series coming out, and I think they're at a haunted location in Ireland again.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They had the tripwire. They were using it. Josh Gates, Heather, and Philip, I think.
Yeah. So, you know, it went from Kindred Spirits and Amy and Adam using it to Jack Osborne used them, and then Nick Groff used them, and then I don't know. Even Project Fear just recently used them, and Chelsea was getting some really good hits in the basement.
I don't think they brought it. It was left by Sam and
Colby at one of their haunted schools or something.
He owns a haunted school. I think they left it in the boiler room, and they stumbled upon it and decided to use it. And they got some pretty good evidence at the time that I was even surprised how.
You know, it's fun to watch how other people use your equipment, and it gives you some good ideas of what to try. So she had it in a circle by her, and she was saying, you know, if it's yes, just light up one light. You know, if it's no, many lights. So I might have that backwards, but it was doing that with her questioning.
That was pretty cool.
And we had never thought
that is cool.
It is cool. But I have to say one more thing about the tripwire. Jeff now has a new idea with how to use it. And he was demonstrating in our family room last night.
Well,
so
okay.
Ridiculous.
Today, the tripwire is laid out on the ground, and it's basically 2-dimensional. It's just laying there, whether we have it in a big circle or not. I want somebody to sit in like a cone of EMF. So I have 4 tripods, and the person would be sitting in a chair. The tripods are spaced at 4 foot around them like a square. Then I take my 36 footers and loop it around and around and around. And so it looks like a big spring, but it's those are all EMF sensors on the cable going up, and it's going to be above their heads. So it's now suspended, and then you do your session. I want to see where that EMF burst is coming from. If it just is effective across the ground or how high up it goes. I'm really excited to try to get that experiment going.
That sounds cool. I know we've used them on canopy beds. We just used it at now I'm going to totally forget the name, and the name's gone. So Grand Midway Hotel.
Okay.
In the room with the canopy bed, we had it draped across there and one across the bed. At Hillview, we had it hanging across some of the rails that hang over the beds,
Mhm.
kind of draped it over there. So yeah, it's going up though. That's knowing where it starts when you're in the whole column. That's like a whole different thing. That would be really cool. And see if there's movement. Is something going up? Is something coming down?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I
And
like
we
that.
used them on beds and, like I said, mantles before and that kind of thing. So we have had them elevated. But this is kind of different. It's very controlled and it's spiraling around somebody who's sitting in the middle of it. You know, and
Okay.
maybe dowsing,
I like
or
that.
maybe doing the Estes method or doing, you know, it's just another thing to try.
Right.
Yeah.
I like
That's
that.
it. You guys are just too creative. That's the
They
problem.
really are.
See-
Like, you have very creative minds and you're thinking of new ways to use it and new things to put on it to make
Right.
it better than it is.
Right.
See,
That's really good.
whether you realize it or not, you guys are like paranormal legends.
Oh, come on.
People, look how
You-
many
you
people are
will
using your
be.
piece of equipment. They just
Exactly.
need to associate the faces and the names with that piece of equipment. You
That's
know,
okay.
and that's huge though. That's something that only comes across once in a while where you have something that makes that big of an impact. And I've seen people try to make copies or rip it off, and they fail miserably instantly, because anybody that has a real one and someone comes across with the copy and you put them side by side, the person
Yeah.
throws their copy away, and I'm sure they're buying the real one the next day because there
Yeah.
is no comparison.
We went through a lot of prototyping, learning about the power that runs down the cable, setting itself off, and trying to shield that from the sensor and stuff like that.
Right. And then
But-
Jeff works with an electrical engineer who's brilliant.
Yeah, Dustin.
So Jeff comes up with ideas and he works with his electrical buddy and you know, we're all about quality and integrity.
But I'll be the first one to tell somebody that I see on YouTube using our equipment, it's going off. And then I see a flash in the window and say, oh no, there's a storm. Lightning sets things off.
Mhm.
And that's what happened with Travel the Dead. She got a hold of me and said, we had a lot of activity in the basement, but I want to know for sure what you think about lightning storms. And so we had I was on a short segment of that Travel the Dead show. And I wish I would have seen the video ahead of time, because it was going off. It was quiet. But then about 20 minutes later, somebody pointed out the window and said, hey, look at this. It will pick up lightning 3 miles away.
Yeah.
If you
Just
see
if we
that
have a
light,
thunderstorm, he's running out in our driveway with all our tripwires.
But see, that's the kind of stuff you need to know.
Well, you
It's
know.
true.
Yeah.
When there's a signal, we've done 2 historical societies now that are based on railroad stations, old historic railroad stations, and we found that there's some signal or pulse nearby, nothing that we could see, that was coming up a minute before the train would get to us.
Mhm.
And someone said, I wonder if that was the train. So we started paying attention. And every time a train was coming by, it lit up. And the power lights that were on EMF, because I had the power rem there, it was set on EMF, that was being tripped along with the tripwire right about almost a minute exactly before the trains were coming. So there's nothing obvious out there that was coming on, unless it was could it be the power then going to the crossing signals? The gate's got to come down, the lights going off, because that was within 50 yards.
were there any overhead power lines that you could?
That was the overhead power lines were the electrical lines were always there, because there's the regular ones for houses. There's no one that's there for the train, except it's not like a high speed line or anything. So
It might be attached to the rail on the bottom too.
hey, that's a third rail, maybe something like that. But I don't see them putting it out without blocking that off, because this is out in the open. They're running on the old Amtrak tracks. They go from like Burlington County down to the shore and back.
So, like, you definitely need to know your environment if you want to have
Definitely.
integrity with your evidence. And so you got to look to debunk whatever you can.
Absolutely.
And once you notice something like that that's repetitive or it's cycling, you got to rule it out. We had that happen. Remember the coffee pot that was turning on?
The bishop's house.
The bishop's house. I don't know. We're in Ohio, so it's a place we investigated here. And we were getting really excited about one of our paralights going off upstairs in the bishop's bedroom.
Oh, and they were answering every question.
Yeah. Until we realized, boy, that's coming on about every 5 minutes.
I went back to the audio, and you could see a hit, and then you start
video. Yeah.
And you look at, wait a minute, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I had to call the place up, and I said, hey, do you have anything turning on in this building? It's a very old building, and I think they use plumbing as the grounding feature for electrical. So the whole building is, anyways, they said, yes, we forgot to tell you there was a coffee pot warmer that turns on every 4 minutes.
Yeah. I'm not sure they wanted to tell us first. I think we had.
I was thinking that. It
Because
was like a test.
a lot of people come in and are very excited about getting that evidence. So, what
it's knowing how the equipment works, knowing why you use it, and knowing all the things that could possibly set it off. And unfortunately, there's some people that are just excited because it's something new and cool, and they could be sitting there all night just chasing, the coffee pot or the train, not making the connection.
Yeah.
And understanding even what EMF is and what other things could trip it off.
Well, I was going to say what I did when I first started investigating, I looked at PSC&G, which is our local electric company.
Mm-hmm.
I went to their website and they had a guide to EMF. And it was like a book just stapled together papers, but it was like a book like this. And it talked all about EMF and where it's generated from and how it expands and where it can cause problems, just for normal people, because people, I guess, were complaining they were getting sick, and they were trying to tell them how to, figure out where it is and, how to identify it as what's making you sick. Like if you have this symptom and this symptom and this symptom. And I made 10 copies of it. And I just kept a bunch of them. If anybody ever wanted to learn about EMF, with your electric company,
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to go to any of Lauren Hellickson's lectures or presentations where she talks about the equipment, one of the things she goes a deep dive into is the EMF. And I was learning stuff that, I realize it's a whole range of things, but, I knew radios, like our walkie-talkies would set off, like the REM pods and different things. And proximity to certain EMF meters would set them off too. I didn't realize that radio waves were part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So are microwaves, things that you don't realize that may be around. They have the potential for interfering. So you almost have to test. I know a lot of people will take a cell phone and put it nearby something and then start texting it or calling it to see if it will go off, but they don't realize your cell phone's constantly pinging the closest tower to know where you are. So if you don't know that much, you think, well, I'm not texting, no one's calling, I'm not on the phone, my phone's okay. If you're right up on top of something, no, it's not.
Right.
A lot of the things may only be 12 inches, but I think when White Hill has a whole bar, we put all the stuff up on the bar, have a tripwire running down it. So people are sitting on either side on the stools and they have their phones there. A lot of the phones can be within 12 inches easily.
Right.
So we have to point that out, and then they get a little education on, what could be setting this off, how EMFs work and stuff.
Yeah. And walkie-talkies. That was one of the things I learned with the Paralight, is it was really sensitive to a walkie-talkie just being queued up. You could be across the room, and my electrical buddy said, well, what's the length of cable you have between the sensor and the circuit card? I go, well, it's like 6 inches. And he looked back and he said, that's about the wavelength of this megahertz signal coming from a walkie-talkie. It's perfect. It's like an antenna. Okay, put it in the literature. No walkie-talkies, no cell phones, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. It's funny though, people send us their evidence, or when we watch the TV shows and they're using them, sometimes they don't understand the equipment.
No,
so
I agree.
One guy is like, oh, this tripwire is touch sensitive, and he's hitting it. And I'm like, and then they don't call it the tripwire. Dave, you said, it's the lighted rope. It's the, I don't know. And Jeff and I just crack up.
Rope,
Oh, and
You
then
know-
on one
Go
show,
ahead.
real quick, when it goes all red is when you need to change the batteries. And I don't know what show that was. Should we say? That was a different one.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say.
No, you want to say, but the people put the wrong kind of batteries in the trip.
Oh, that's different.
Oh my God.
That's the one I'm talking about. And then it caught fire.
Well, almost.
Well, it started smoking.
It looked like they put 3 4-volt batteries in it. It was like a sweet voltage, 12 some volts that will fry the circuit. And they took and they put those in, and it literally started melting the power supply.
Oh my God.
They ran out of the building holding it and threw it on the ground, and they filmed it and put it on TV.
Yeah. And they did say later in the show it was their fault for putting the wrong batteries.
that's
Well,
good.
thank God they did
I
that.
hope
Yeah.
Yeah, they better, you
They got
know.
to that point.
But
yeah.
the damage was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buy my stuff and burn your house down.
No.
When I teach my class, the Ghost Hunting 101, that I advertise it as 90% of the people out there in the field are using at least one piece of equipment wrong because they don't understand how it works or how to use it properly. And when people come, I get a lot of people that will take it because they're interested in other parts of it. And they sit there and they're kind of like snoozing through the equipment until you see suddenly they sit up a little bit, they're paying more attention. And you know, this is the piece of equipment they were walking around for years using improperly because no one explained it to them. They just bought it. They learned from someone else that was using it wrong. And it just so on and so on and so on.
We always try to send out as much literature as possible. But if anybody reads it, you know, who knows? That's up to them. And like
I send stuff out too with stuff, but a lot of manufacturers, I have to print it up myself. I've created instructions because many do not include the instructions, and they don't even have easy to find YouTube videos. So some of the stuff is too much to type out. When I get something, I'll do a walkthrough, you know, and you know, kind of like make it easier to understand. This is what you do. You touch this, this will happen. That kind of stuff. But a lot of manufacturers just don't bother doing either one. And I don't understand how people are expected to buy it and use it without knowing how it works.
And some of it is complicated. I think the equipment is becoming more sophisticated. And I know with our Paranormal, I mean, even for me, and I use it often, I have to remind myself how to hit the buttons, if I want music, if I want sound. Oh, thanks.
I just went through that.
Yeah, did you?
And I did like a week ago. I was like pushing all the buttons, and I'm like, okay, which one is this now? Which is the EMF?
I almost have it mastered now. I don't have to look at the. I got to look at the songs, but I don't have to look at the combinations. I know how to turn one on, both on, and all that stuff. So, but that took a while because it's the combinations of like the short press, the long press of buttons and stuff. But it's
and it's EMF and it's REM and it's music and it's sound or it's quiet. So you have a lot of choices. The reason Jeff came up with like the whole idea of the Paralights was we were tired of trying to use the K2. The K2, this is one of those like out of necessity kind of things that was invented. You're walking around with a K2, there's those tiny little lights, nobody can see them. You know, you say, hey, I got a hit, and people elsewhere haven't seen it because it's a tiny little light. So he thought, I want to come up with a lantern that everybody can see that's 360 degrees all around the room. And so, you know, it originated with what? What was the first thing?
That took about a year to develop. The lessons learned there from engineering, and my electrical buddy would tell me, is that if you're trying to detect EMF, then the device you're creating can't emit EMF because you'll be feeding yourself. The sensor will be picking up the power supply, which is emitting EMF. And that was the technology we used to first go around, was electric light wire. We actually had an electric light panel inside of it. And that was horrible. The thing you wouldn't shut off. It just kept feeding itself. So we abandoned that and went to LEDs, and that solved that problem. So, hey, Pat, I wanted to ask you, what you go on an investigation, what is your go-to piece of equipment. And it's okay, don't make it one of ours.
It doesn't have to be one of ours. We're always looking for other equipment. We have to do this all the time, you know.
So my go-to, honestly, is my audio recorder.
Yes.
That's my number one thing that I have to have with me, or I feel like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I can see the lights go off, but I can't really guarantee what's setting them off. You know, I can see meters go off. I also have somebody was sending me equipment at some point. It was somebody that I don't know why they picked me, but I guess got my name off a website, and they started like building equipment and sending it to me to try.
Mm-hmm.
And they built a geophone, which had two areas to it. It was one that would detect voice and one that would detect harder vibrations, like more, you know, higher level. And they each had a sensitivity adjustment on it. I love that too, because, you know, this way, if somebody says something moved, I'll know if it moved, like there's without a doubt, you know, or if no one's talking in the room and all of a sudden I see the voice one go off, I'll be like, that's interesting, you know? So I like that one too.
Okay.
So your digital recorder, is it one of the special ones from the 70s that you can play back? And
that cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You're referring to the defective DR60.
Yeah.
And it gets a lot of stuff, yes, but the Panasonic, when they first came out, we got them and we were getting a lot of stuff, that some of it very questionable stuff. So we contacted them directly, and they said the DR90 is already in production because the DR60 is defective. It was picking up interference from anything from a slight wing current going across the condenser microphone to picking up what they said was possibly like ham radio or local radio stations that was causing, and it's well known. So every time someone shows me one, I'm like, you know, it's defective, right? So I don't know how you can trust what you're getting knowing that. But like you said, that I brokered a sale for $900 from somebody who wanted one, and I put him in touch with somebody, and they got a bargain for $900. They got it for sale.
Yeah,
right.
I sold mine for $50 one time before it blew up to be something. Some guy asked me about it. It's like, I got one sitting in the drawer. I don't use it, just sitting there in a junk drawer. They'll give you $50 for it. I'm like, I'll get my money back. So here you go.
They're like $1,200 or more.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
They're very expensive. So to continue, Pat, you got your EVPs.
Right.
Are you going to go home and put them in the computer and listen to them?
I do.
Do you use certain software?
I use Cool Edit, which is an old discontinued program that I happen to have because my husband had it. He used to do a lot of like concert recordings and things like that, like live music. So he had the program, and then I said, you know, I was using WavePad or something like that.
Yep.
And he said, here, try this, you know, Cool Edit. And I was like, okay. And I love it. Like, it's so easy, and it has options on it that are more specific, you know, and it's very visual, which I need.
It's got like pre-installed filters and all the different things you need to tweak, but you can see the just the regular sine wave version, but then you can also switch it over to the hertz range, so you can see where it's falling in the hertz range, all from like the same program. A lot of it was I think Adobe bought out the company that owned Cool Edit Pro and then made Adobe Audition. Is that what it was called when they did their higher end version? But the Cool Edit Pro was the basic, you know, forerunner. So a lot of the people who've been doing it for a long time, I still have it on, you know, my computer. That's my go-to.
Yeah, me too.
What do you guys use?
I use Isotope with Audio RX 12 now or something. It's just that Audacity is like a free program. Everybody has it. But I usually tell people that it's the difference between snorkeling and throwing on a tank and a snorkel or a mask and going down to the bottom. People that use Audacity can only swim at the top and look down at the bottom to see what's there. It's really difficult to swim down to the bottom and stay there very long. And Whereas with the high-end programs that have that built-in filters and are really looking for, voice versus you can eliminate the noise and all sorts of things. You can put on that tank, go down the bottom. Not only can you go down, but you can go in the mud and move that around to find these, hidden treasures down there.
Yeah.
So, okay. I was just curious.
I do like Audacity for one reason. When I'm teaching like my trainings, that's the one I'll go to. It's easily available.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There's a setting in there where you can create your own filter specific to that particular file. You take the sounds before the EVP, a 2-second clip, you turn that into a filter, then you run that filter and it takes all the sounds in that same range out and leaves you with just the EVP.
Mm-hmm.
And something like Cool Edit Pro doesn't do anything like that, where you can create your own filter. So I do like that in Audacity. If I could get something that has all the different cool things from all the programs all in one, that would be awesome.
I know. Then maybe I'd pay for one.
Because I'll use Audacity too. If the filters aren't working on Cool Edit Pro, I'll open Audacity and make the custom filter and see if I can get any better.
Yeah.
But
I think the challenge is having the time to go through your evidence. If you're investigating,
Always.
we're always backlogged with our camera.
Business.
Yeah, well, with the business and everything else going on.
I just put up 2023. I have 2024 queued up. I need to clip that out and get that up on the website. Yeah. So I wanted to ask Dave you some questions. When we go investigate, we are all bright white light, positive. We never run into anything demonic.
As far as we know.
That we know of.
I mean, we don't provoke. We go in with intentions of only
having fun with the spirits.
Yeah, in a positive way. But I know, Dave, being a demonologist and everything, you know so much about the other side. And how do we know and how do we protect ourselves? How do we've been fortunate that we haven't had anything negative happen that we know of. We have had people in our group who have had very negative experiences.
Yeah.
A lot of the times the negative experiences people are having aren't anything negative because our interpretation or the way our brain interprets certain things, things built in from prehistoric times, the fight or flight,
right?
All those things, and your brain isn't necessarily thinking rational. It's more, it goes to a very primitive state. So seeing things can be misinterpreted. The feelings that you're getting, people getting like suddenly nauseous or chest pains and stuff, automatically go towards the negative thoughts. Now, but that's not necessarily anything negative. You could just be your body's reacting to the energy that's coming close to.
Correct.
So the other thing, the other part of the question was, you wouldn't know necessarily if something was around, and that's a good thing. That's the best.
You don't want to know.
We don't. That's kind of our philosophy, but I feel like it's a little naive.
As long as you're not running around provoking or doing anything, and you're, if you're sick or just having a bad day or bad week, maybe you should skip that investigation. Anything that's going to have just negativity around you at any point, because Pat will tell you that there's times we've had cases set up that were really important that we get out there, and I've just called and said, hey, look, health wise, I'm not 100%, so I can't go. I'd be more the potential for me to hurt the client or my team and myself by having something come after me, is high. You got to take my demonology class.
I think we did. We did a few years back, and I'll have to watch it again. And I didn't mean to get into that, but I just
online class.
It was an online class, and I sat through it all and I listened to it.
That gives a lot of it always changes too. I'm always updating it, but it gives a lot of things of what you need to look for so that when things might be getting a little sketchy. So that, hey, this is a time we need to leave or whatever. And also gives some ideas for protection too. But ultimately the most basic protection is making sure that you're positive and you're not going in with anything that could be some kind of handicap. I've turned around, my ex-wife was great for calling me on the way to investigations and starting stuff.
Great.
And, starting an argument, and I would fall for it, and then I'd have to call the team saying I can't come and turn around and go home because I could have gone and I could have pretended everything was okay. No one would know, but I knew that I was now potentially compromised by something as little as that, and I didn't want to be that weak fish in the school that's going to have something come after it, potentially not hurt me, hurt someone else instead. So that's the basic thing. Good thoughts.
You see the shows and it's always a demon here, a demon here, a demon. What percentage do you think, like if you had to give a percentage versus just a spirit who wants to communicate and maybe, you misinterpret how they're communicating in a negative way and it's not, Jeff and I don't look at that, but just wondered,
I think the general investigator, the people who aren't doing like me and Pat do the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So the cases that we're exposed to, there's a higher likelihood of something, and even then a lot of them turn out to be nothing at all, misinterpretation, some kind of anxiety, depression, mental disorder of some kind. But people see it on TV and they see we get this all the time. I've been attacked. What did they do? Well, threw a chair. Okay, did it hurt? What do you mean? Well, when they threw the chair and hit you with it, did it hurt? Oh, well, they didn't hit me with it. Then it wasn't an attack.
Right.
It was a spirit moving a chair. You got surprised. You got scared because the prehistoric thing in your head said, get the hell out of here. But if it wanted to hit an invisible thing that you can't see, picks up a chair and throws it, it could easily have hit you with it. It could have walked up 2 inches from your face and slammed it right at you. But it chose not to. So that was not an attack. But when you see the YouTube videos and they see a door slam or they see a shadow down the end of the hallway, everything's a demon because people will tune in if you use the D word.
You're right.
Right. Especially one investigator in particular uses it way too much.
Yeah, for sure.
It all the time. And
it gets old and it's for ratings and, but you guys are the real deal and you take on the cases. So we have a lot to learn from you as well.
Yeah, so it's a challenge.
Don't do it. Just don't do it.
We really don't. We have people call us. We have people call us who want to come and help them get rid of the demons in their house. And we're just like, that's not what we do. And we are not experts at that. And we're not going to get involved if we don't feel competent doing it. And maybe you could contact somebody else. So
unfortunately, that's not the common train of thought amongst investigators. They see an opportunity. They go, and then what happens is we wind up cleaning up after them, and they wind up going somewhere for exorcisms. Right. So, I mean, two different sets of people, the client and the team, wind up having problems because they thought that, well, how bad could it be? I've read a book, I've watched the show, I know what I'm doing, and then we go in and I'm too far away from the camera. We have to undo what the people, the investigators did before we can get to the actual problem that the client was having. So now they've doubled our work. Right. So
there are times I've gotten phone calls and they go, this is NCPD. And I go, yes, it is. And they go, well, can I speak to the HR department? And wait, who are you calling? Well, the North Canton Police Department. I'm sorry. This is the North Canton Paranormal Detectives. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, he picked that name a long time ago. And I said, Jeff, are you sure about that? He's like, okay. And then we had somebody contact us who's sending us pictures of apparitions and everything. And then what happened with that? All of a sudden you saw a picture that had.
I said, that's a cool one picture. I want all the pictures in that, however many. And they just unloaded their camera, sent it to me. And every fifth picture had a watermark on it saying paranormal photos by. They had an app in their phone that would put an apparition in a doorway. I was hooked when I first saw the first apparition. After that, I was a sucker, and I will never believe anybody's app from now on. I'm sorry.
And that's the thing with app. I mean, I have what I call are two good ones, but anyone could say that I did something to fake them too. It's all about the integrity of the person.
Right.
And, I could say, oh, well, there was no one else around. I used this special camera. all this equipment, but there's no proof of any of that. It's just me saying it. So you are left with, do you believe the person, and the picture? I'm sure there's people out there that people don't believe that have real pictures, but because of their, their reputation, people don't believe, and vice versa. So.
Yeah, we have people ask us all the time about what we do, and it's hard for them. They're interested, but to totally believe, I don't think you really can until you have a personal experience of yourself on your own.
Yeah.
You have that personal experience, and that's just so cool. You find that evidence that's a needle in a haystack that you can't debunk. That's amazing. But for somebody who doesn't do it, it's hard to believe.
We belong to a golf club, and half the people are, hey, did you go anywhere this weekend? What's the cool evidence you got? And then the other half is, oh, who are you going to call? Jeff and Susie.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, So you have to read the room and know, who you're around and just, be pleasant.
So Dave, you got any things coming up? I see you on Facebook all the time, advertising more and more places you're going to be.
I have something coming up, and I'm surprised it didn't take off. Like for years, I go to a place in Gettysburg, which is everyone's favorite place to go. If you're within traveling, people come from all over the world, though, honestly, and you can't be there at night. The national park, anyway.
Oh.
Anywhere that's the battlefield and the cemetery, it's dusk and you're out. And they will arrest you, cuff you, take you down. You're definitely getting a ticket depending on what you were doing. They'll take your equipment and you're not getting it back.
Right.
We have a place that's on the outskirts of town that is along the road that when the Confederate troops were going back into the South, they were backed up something like 70 miles, and they were almost at a dead stop with injured people. And there's this huge farm. So it was one of the largest Confederate field hospitals. It's 96 acres. It's got like a farmhouse, a barn, and people for years have been asking, like, well, we do it every year. Can we camp out here? Can we camp out here? I'm like, I finally asked the lady. She goes, yeah, sure. Stay till 7 a.m. And then this is the year that like people don't want to, camp out. It's very weird. This year's weird altogether with all the events. I know it's across the board with a lot of the people who are running events where we're not seeing like as many people going, and I'm guessing like it's the economy or people are buying. The White Hill one I just sold out, but I didn't sell out. I had 4 tickets until 5 days before. Then I sold like the other 15. So it's just, I may sell the Gettysburg one out too. Who knows? Because it's Saturday. It's still people like, jump on looking at the weather and see what the weather's like and everything else.
The high temperatures are driving away. The 90 degree plus. I think the weather out there would be a hindrance. So maybe people are holding back to see what the weather's going to be like for the weekend. That's a possibility. But other places, we have Ohio State Reformatory coming up on Labor Day weekend. And that one always sells out, and it's the same thing. The tickets are not up to where they usually are by this point. And it's just, I think it's going to become harder and harder in this climate, the paranormal climate, with all the nonsense that's going on and driving people, the casual person, away from it.
Right.
They don't want to watch it they don't want to follow it on Facebook because they're seeing nonsense and stuff that doesn't belong there. So I think that drives a lot of people away from even wanting to do it, or if they're not following you on Facebook, or they have you like where you're not being seen on their thread, they're not seeing the advertisements for the events either. So I think that and the current, economic climate, the two together become like the perfect storm. But I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the paranormal people shooting themselves in the foot by, carrying on the way they do.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Well, with tariffs and everything too, I know that's affected us and our circuit cards and our copper. And I know you, Dave, said, a lot of people who make equipment are telling you that. And then people are paying more to buy things, and hopefully we'll get through this and
Well,
Yeah.
we lost two paranormal developers and builders have shuttered their doors, one within the past month, because of the costs or the inability to get the parts.
Right.
I got a sample sent to me of an IR light that a company wants to build for me as like a specific to the Ghost Hunter store, and I didn't pay anything for it. It was a sample, and it was marked as a sample, and the tariff on it was $35, and I'm not paying $35 for something that's free.
Right.
So ultimately, they paid the tariff, so it
Mhm.
got released. But if it's something by weight, the thing weighed like 2 ounces, and it was the cost was $1.
Mhm.
So I mean, if that's what it is, imagine if it was something that was $200 and weighed like a pound. That's going to be a significant amount. And I'm losing business overseas too. Canada, well, not overseas, international. Canada and Australia has dropped off because they're getting hit when they're going to pick the stuff up
Right.
with this huge.
Right.
That I can't predict what it is.
It's changing.
So that all
But
that's
you were talking about Gettysburg, and we're going back to our dowsing rods again. I remember when we sold them at the Gettysburg Bash, and then we went somewhere where you were allowed to be in Gettysburg. It was by a bridge,
A covered bridge.
a covered
Oh,
bridge.
Sachs Bridge.
And it was so
Bridge.
cool for us because we went there too, and we could see everybody out in the field who had
Yeah,
bought our
looking at-
dowsing
Hey,
rods.
look at the
Look, there's 2 orange ones over there. There's 2 green ones over there.
Yeah,
It was so cool.
that was
It
pretty
just
cool.
was a really neat memory that they were enjoying what they bought.
A community service message for the people going to Sachs Bridge. It is like right on the border of federal property. So a lot of the federal markers are covered with grass. So you might not know when you've already crossed the line into that. So you don't want them rolling up on you and,
Yeah.
giving you a ticket or, carting you away.
We
The
didn't
bridge
get
is
into
okay.
trouble that night, so that was
Yeah,
good.
the bridge is okay, but when it gets all crowded in the bridge, people wind up going all out to the different areas, and it's like, you got to. I guess if no one saw it, no harm, But they do check because they know people go out there a lot.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw out, there were a lot of people that we've talked to and they go like, why do you like doing this? Ghost hunting stuff. And I've always thought, and I tell them, it's the history, the mystery, the technology, and the camaraderie.
He loves this saying, by the way. He had to get this in.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very good one. I like it. I like it.
Cute. I know.
Well, the
I like
history, the building, it's got history to it. The mystery, like people say there are ghosts there. Are there really ghosts? The technology, everybody bringing different pieces of equipment. And then the camaraderie is that you've got
camaraderie.
your camaraderie. She's an English teacher.
Left out a syllable.
I understand.
But you got your friends and everybody that you're all on the same page and everybody's going. And so it's
having fun together. So
and
it's
having fun and going places together. It's become a really cool hobby. And it's a lot better than 10, 15 years ago when you couldn't tell your parents that you were doing it. And now you're sort of a celebrity. People want to know what kind of evidence.
yeah, it's funny because we've been interviewed for the paper several times. And it even went the Canton Repository, but it went out to USA Today and stuff,
It got spread out.
And, yeah, and then people will say things to me, and they'll bring me copies, and then as a teacher, I don't really talk about it with my elementary school kids, but then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, you're in the paper, Mrs. Eastman," and yeah, and it's what Jeff is saying is his parents were very strict Catholics. And when we first started, he had to go to every holy day and, Catholic school and everything. Confessions.
Bless me, Father,
took
I have sinned.
Piano lessons from the nurses who would hit his knuckles. You were kind of ornery, though, I think. But anyway, we were kind of afraid to tell his parents about, what we were getting involved in. But one day he just decided to. And they really surprised us because they were all for it.
Yeah.
Really?
It's
Nice.
like, we think that's really exciting. We believe in the afterlife, and maybe you're talking to certain people. And they were really into life after death. They had Ions, which was a group that came to their
International.
house. They would talk about their near-death experiences. So we were very pleasantly surprised about that.
Yeah.
That's
One
good.
last thing I wanted to throw out was I've got over 4,000 things out there, and people are like, "Whoa, you've got a great business." And I said, it's not that. I get a much bigger kick out of knowing that people have taken it and want to communicate to the other side. They want to find something that's just not on TV. They
Want to
give
have
me
their own
evidence.
experience. They want quality equipment.
Well, no, but they're looking to talk to something or communicate to the other side. They have their sights set on the afterlife. And I like knowing that I'm helping them do that, giving them some, equipment to do it.
Well, the older you get, the more important that is.
Yeah,
I really need
exactly.
to know. I turned 60
Well, you know what?
this year.
That's
I'm
what
like,
got me started, honestly. When I had my experiences growing up, that was one thing. But when I started getting interested in doing like the regular ghost hunting, I wanted to know what exactly was going on. Is there definitely something after? And I'm at the point now where I can say 100% based on everything I've seen, whether it's equipment, recordings, or personal experience, there is something on the other side. It's not lights out. It's something there. So I'm okay with that then, because I know it's not the end.
The fact that I was communicated to by my sister through a third party that didn't even know her, but she knew, I was close with her and I was close with my sister, and she found her, gave her a message, and it was the craziest thing. Like, as soon as she gave it to me, I started bawling my eyes out because there's no way she could have known that.
It's such a gift. It is just such a gift, and it's so reassuring. And I think I had an experience like that on Mother's Day with my own mother. My mother passed, and I was crying and I was missing her, and the light over my bed slowly came on, and all the light switches were turned off, and we've lived in this house for 35 years and it's never happened again, and it stayed on for 10 minutes, and I talked to her and it slowly went out, and
that's awesome.
I truly believe that was my mom reaching out to me. That's a really reassuring feeling.
Yeah, it really is. Nothing like it.
As usual, we've gone over the time.
I'm sorry.
I was looking at
I never watched. I just looked over and I see it's like 101. It's like and I don't know if the next show afterwards is coming right on. So gotta scoot. But we are going to have you guys back on. Get some new equipment out. We'll bring you right back on. Bring the other versions of the tripwire, because I can't have enough tripwires. I think honestly, if two things I would bring would be my camera, my full spectrum camera, and the tripwire, because it enables me to cover more of a distance. It's got visual reading, so I can document with data still, and then anything else I see on the camera or audio of it. So I'm covering like 3 different things. Can use it as a some kind of a trigger prop too. And see, I'm now talking that we're at 102. So all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Jeff and Susie.
Nice to see you again. I hope to see you very, very soon. You guys are great.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. See ya.
Bye-bye. Okay, then.